Well, hello, sunshine. Today we're going to try to bolt the reed block on this Poulan PR5020 cheap saw build-off. I know the bench looks like a mess here. That's because we got a lot of parts. I want to tell you about each one. Some of them's homemade. Most of them's homemade. Some of them ain't. We're going to put it on there, and if we got all the fuel lines and everything we're going to need, we'll get her started up today. Matter of fact, I'm going to try to get started up in this video, even if it takes a couple days. So first thing, of course, we did, everything's on a playlist here, and everything up to this point's in the playlist. The inside of this engine's been catastrophized. That probably ain't a word. And we've hogged out this intake, so we made us an intake block on that. Now, the only thing I've done that hasn't been videoed is the impulse line comes into this engine in the original manifold right here. Now, seeing as how we have reeds, that does make this whole reed block up into these reeds out here. That turns all this into part of crankcase volume. So actually we can pull impulse from here if we wanted to. But I don't know if I've talked about this before, but this is a piston ported engine that we're putting on reed blocks, right? Well, I've got the intake on the skirt of the piston at a little over 200 degrees total opening, okay? Which is way too much. It wouldn't run that way. The reed block's gonna take care of that. But the reason I did that is that reed block, or that piston, is gonna close this intake port at about 102 degrees after top dead center, which would be, what, 78 before bottom dead center, right? Well, when that hits 78 degrees before bottom dead center, that leaves me 78% or 78 degrees of crank compression that's isolated only to this, so it eliminates this for part of the crankcase compression, doesn't it? So we drilled us a hole. That hadn't been showed yet because I just did it this morning. We drilled us a hole from where that intake or that impulse port hit right to here, and drilled it through there at an angle so it's coming out over here out of the way. And of course we modified our gasket and drilled a hole in our gasket right there too. So I'm gonna get this set on there. Everything on this one here hopefully be just a little bit better than the light. Oh, wrong holes. Oh, before I forget, where this intake block is gonna bolt on, right here with these bolts, nope, these ones, I have set nuts inside this Delrin. There's a flat washer in there and a nut, and I drilled that hole just right to where that nut would pull down in that and kind of cut its own deals with the hex points on that, so that nut doesn't spin. I ain't saying it won't ever spin, but right, it'll hold it to get this thing put together and taken apart a couple times. So let me, I need to go get some washers for this face right here, for these three here, because those, no, I don't either. Never mind. Sorry I blew up. Put up with me. I'll try to talk to you guys while I do a little bit of this, and may have to edit some out just to get it down enough to make a decent video, because like I said, I'd like to get this started up today. Now all those bolt heads there, of course, are recessed in enough to where they're not going to bother us. And I'm going to hang that gasket on there. It's pretty tight in there, guys, to be honest about it. This is real tight. This Delrin block is real tight because I wanted it to kind of block that, I wanted it to block this, the heat off of these fins. I wanted that to block that, so it fits right in this case real snug all the way around. It's cut out around, instead of just hacking it off, I milled it out around the like where your handlebar mounts and stuff like that. And we beat us a gasket out, of course, because there wasn't a gasket ever supplied, there was never a factory need for that gasket there. This is bolting on where the old intake manifold would have bolted on. So there never was a gasket there. We got some gasket material. We beat out another gasket for our reed block. And speaking of reed block, about the next thing we're gonna need is a reed block, I think. And there's a gasket for this somewhere. Give me just a minute, I gotta go find that gasket. Okay, we got us a gasket found. If you guys are paying attention, you'd notice probably when it switched from one video to the other, there's a hose hanging off. I plugged that impulse line in while it was real easy to get to. It'll probably continue to be easy to get to, but it was just one of those things I done. So now hopefully we can get these bolts started in there. I haven't test fit it, so hopefully all those nuts are spaced just right to get this reed block bolted on there. Now this reed block, that came from I just come off Amazon. I don't know, it was about $20, $25, whatever it was. Wasn't terrible. There she's starting. Wasn't getting her straight. Wasn't holding her mouth just right. I got them beat in there. I ain't saying I can't beat them out. And if I cross thread them, but let's not cross thread it if we can keep from it. Got a bolt in the way. Some of these bolts, I've never taken one of these Poulans apart. So a lot of the bolts, if I was afraid I couldn't remember where they went, I just stuck them back in the case. And that's been, crud, I'd hate, yes, a month ago. Way too long for that little pea brain of mine to remember it. That's for dang certain. Now I don't know if this thing needed gaskets everywhere or not. It came with that gasket that I just put in there. It came with that gasket, and it came with another one. I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself. These little ratchets like that are handy. They'll hit that 6-sided 1/4 inch of drive. It's got a 1/4 inch of drive socket on one end that fits these, and it's got a 1/4 inch of drive just regular ratchet on the other end. Oh, that's handier than crap. A lot of times they use the little impact gun, but I'm sitting there plugging this into Delrin, and I want to have a feel for it. Those little impact guns on solid stuff, they give you a pretty good feel. 1 ugga-dugga, 2 ugga-duggas, whatever you need to do. So now we got us a reed block on there, don't we? Just the block. So now we put our reeds in. That's where I'm saying I don't know where these gaskets go. It'll fit here in between this reed block and that gasket, and that needs to be a sealed surface. That's part of your case compression, isn't it? Or that's going to come under compression. That's on the fuel side. Oh, I got to get this thing. I'll tell you what I'm looking at. I had to take my die grinder and die grind out a little bit right there and right there to allow for these studs. About half that stud sticks in that hole, and I didn't center that daggum thing up, so I don't know which way's which. Maybe I did center it up. Maybe it'll work either way. Perfect. That's all I needed to hear. Looks like it'll work both ways. So this only come with one gasket, so, and I didn't know if it went under here or in between there and originally this reed block come with this carburetor adapter on it, right? Well, it ought to have, I don't know if this here material is supposed to seal itself. I think I'll feel better with a gasket in it. So we'll poke the reed block in there. viola, voila, however you want to write it and say it. That's one of them funny words. Nobody knows how to spell voila. I'm getting off into other stuff now, sorry. Now, I just cut this gasket out, and I use these little gasket punches. I was just talking to another guy, Mark. Oh, I shouldn't mention that. He said, y'all just put a tech tip in every episode. And I'm not kidding you. 3 minutes ago, so Mark, you'll know how long ago this was, and I just got a package from him yesterday, and he gave me these zip tie pliers, and he'd probably have a fit right now, but man, them work nice to trim them little hairs off his gasket. Mark, don't get mad at me. I love them, but don't get mad at me using them improperly. I know they're just for zip ties and soft stuff, but I thought this paper was good enough. Anyway, I took this here and marked out my holes, right? Colored them in with a Sharpie like you do. Well, then you use these hole punches, and you can't see if that's centered over that hole anymore. So I always take a little tech tip while I'm thinking about it, try it out. I'll take and mark me a line both ways on this with a straight edge that work like crosshairs. Now those lines stick outside of, those lines will stick outside of that, so you can tell if you're centered up. Center this up in those crosshairs and your hole's centered. I don't know, trying a little bit of tech tip, just a little bit of thought of something that might help somebody out when they're doing that. Perfect, because them can be a bugger, can't they? So the next thing we built was this little aluminum block, and I machined that off with a fly cutter on both sides. Of course, drilled all my holes, but I wanted to machine flat surface on both sides. Didn't really care about the edges or nothing. And then we drove some studs in here. Those are out of a, well, when I bought that MS 460 fuel tank, and it was brand new, advertised, but it came with 440 studs in it, so I had to drive the 440 studs out. And of course, never throwing nothing away, those come in handy. These are MS 440 studs in here. So I just drilled that out to mount my carburetor on there here after a bit. And of course, we're about out of parts, but we got some more parts here to go. So we'll get this zip down on there and snuggled up. So now we're about ready for a carburetor, right? Well, that's what I thought the first time I did it too. And I was wrong. I was wrong as can be. Wasn't ready for a carburetor at all. Ain't saying the carburetor wouldn't fit, but the carburetor won't work. And you say, well, why won't the carburetor work? Well, the throttle linkage beats through that plane of this face of this carburetor right here. So that carburetor bottoms out right there. And I know that's probably an expensive piece to build, but it's what I had laying around. It was scrap. It was a ground, or it was an electrical lug off of the side of a transformer, copper. So we built us a copper spacer here that fits that. Oh, we better put us a gasket in there. Better put us 2 gaskets in there. So we put us a copper spacer in there, which allowed that throttle to get back. It spaced that back a ½ inch. I needed at least a quarter, maybe a little more, 3/8 in it, maybe. So ½ inch covered it, didn't it? Okay. And Bob's your uncle. Now, seeing as how we got gasket surface upon gasket surface, there's the next one. Now we got time to put us carburetor on there. I'm not gonna make old Mark mad there about them pliers. I'll quit cutting stuff that ain't supposed to be cut with them. We just need about so much impulse line there. May shorten it up even a little bit more. May have to let it warm up for it and get it put on there. I don't know if my fuel line's gonna reach or not, my original fuel line. It is not, but that's okay. I think I've got some more fuel line around here and we'll just have to put a new piece in it. Let me bring you back when I get that done because I'm gonna have to pull this carburetor back off here. Let me put some fuel line in that. We'll see what we got. And while I'm thinking about it, there's another little handy piece. If you can't tell it, got a little bit of ties to the electrical community. Ground wire, probably number 9 copper ground wire, makes a heck of a fishing pole down in here for these fuel filters and whatnot. Now, old greasy shop rag, I ain't saying that's my idea. You guys know how it is. That ain't my idea at all. But it is what it ain't. Man, them make nice for fishing out of there. And I don't know that just sitting there looking at that, we may have enough fuel line just to pull that on out of there. Let me try that. I'll bring you guys back. I don't want to get this video too long, but I want to show you some of the high points of what I'm doing. Yeah, okay, we had, well, barely. We had enough fuel line to at least try this. There ain't enough fuel on there to run it real good. And probably a full tank of fuel. But I think we're looking good at maybe getting this thing started. That's my hope. I'm not gonna worry about doing throttle linkage. I'm just excited. Guys, I'm excited as a little school kid to try to get this thing running. I don't know if it'll run. I've done so many things that are out of my comfort level on this. I'm not showing you guys what I'm experiencing, or I'm showing you what I'm experiencing. I'm not showing you anything that comes from experience. Guys, I don't know, hopefully hopefully I can be a little bit of what do you want to call it? Hopefully I can incentivize you guys to try some stuff too. That's what I'm doing. I've never messed with reeds in my life. And I'm not one of these guys that grew up around motorcycles, had one, broke my leg on it. Wouldn't know how to work on it. I worked on all kinds of stuff. Motorcycles ain't one of them. Snowmobiles ain't one of them. Two-strokes ain't one of them. Guys, so hopefully I can inspire some of y'all to do this kind of thing. I've never done anything like this before in my life. And I'm just bringing you guys along for the first time. So yeah, I'm giggly. Make sure my choke's gonna work. Yep, okay. I'll put some washers on there. That'll probably get a velocity stack at some point. I'm gonna shut the video off because I'm gonna try to put this saw back together, and I want to be able to start it up for us today without throttle linkage. Hopefully, you know, I can just run it by finger here or something, and work on that later. Make sure it's even gonna work. No sense spending 3 days on throttle linkage for something that may not run anyway. But I've done so many things on this saw outside of my comfort level. I've never done finger ports before, and these ain't really finger ports. I've never even seen a set in person. Seen them on the inner tube, that was it. It's got some equivalent of finger ports in here, my version, my style, and something I wanted to try on this style of saw. So hopefully we can have a little inspiration here, but I'm not gonna waste it putting this plastic and all this back together on that saw. Well, I wonder where that bolt went a while ago. You guys seen me take that off. Okay, I'm gonna shut the camera off, see about getting this saw back together, see if we can get it started. Well, I was getting ready to fire this thing up. I put fuel in it, got all the plastic and everything back on it. Probably ruined the resale value on this saw. I had to chop and cut plastic to get it to fit down over that reed block and stuff. Probably never be worth $75 again. That's what I give for the saw. Anyhow, I put fuel in it. I seen fuel running right up to the carburetor, and then I remembered, oh crap. I had this new carburetor a while back. I had a buddy of mine with a 361, and it wouldn't run, and wouldn't run proper, whatever it was. Don't even hardly remember. And I ordered so I called up Ryan at Wolf Creek Saws and ordered a carb kit for it. Well, and instead of waiting on that guy to come in, I just ripped parts out of a brand new carburetor. So I've had a mouse in there. He brought his lunch. So we got us a new carb kit. I'm gonna have to refresh this carburetor right quick. Thanks for Ryan at Wolf Creek Saw Shop. He donated this carburetor kit to the channel, which was awful nice of him. And while he was donating, I asked him, I said, hey, you ain't got any bigger stickers, do you? He gave me one of these last time or two. So we got some stickers. So I think what we're gonna do is give Ryan's stickers a nice place of, a nice place right here on the dyno, because he's been a friend of the channel. If you guys order from him, tell him I appreciate it. He's great to do business with. And I asked him for a little bit bigger sticker. Well, I don't know where to start putting stickers. Yeah, so there we go. Let's get back to the carburetor. Well, thanks to Ryan, we got this, I'll get up her to 10 pounds. She's holding 10 pounds. It's dropping just a little bit, but it's dry. It was holding 15 just a minute ago before I popped it off. And it's dropping with, by messing with that diaphragm. I like to check them like that before I put them on the carb, or before I put them on the saw, to help alleviate what do you want to say? Egg on your face. While a little later, I like them. Boy, I just about splashed gas fuel in my eye. We're gonna get this thing put on there enough to run. We don't have any throttle linkage or nothing, but I think as soon as I get this on and bolted back down, we're getting ready to see if she'll run. Then we can worry about air filtrations and all that stuff. Don't even have a kill switch on it right now. So hopefully we can just choke it if it tries to run away. If it starts, I'm getting the cart ahead of the horse, even talking about it starting, ain't I? But thanks to Ryan here, I just about had egg on my face. I about didn't have this carburetor ready to go. We got fuel most of the way up the line. That line's cold. It's not on there very far. And it's gonna need new fuel line anyway. We don't have an air filter on it. We don't have a throttle on it. Don't have a clutch on it. Don't need it right now. And no kill switch. So, well, nothing yet. I don't know why I squeezed that throttle. It ain't hooked to nothing. Let's turn up the idle a little bit because I can't give it any throttle, not having one. It did hit though, didn't it? Not very good, but it hit. We'll run that idle screw in. Just want to check these. Just want to check the settings on the carb too. We'll put them both at one out. We may have too much reed block on it. Well, I just remembered another rookie mistake, or seen it. I never tightened that spark plug down in there good. We don't need to beat them. We don't need to beat them threads out of there, do we? Let's snuggle that up a little bit. I noticed it blowing by. We'll give her just a little bit more on the low, or quite a bit more. I don't mind it being a little fat. I may have it too fat. Give me a minute. We're going to try to get her running a little bit more for you. All right, I just backed out the idle till it'd kill it. So we got a few more things to do yet. You guys got to realize that's a factory muffler. I've not even opened that any. So it seems to be pretty spunky, doesn't it? So we got to get us a throttle linkage kill switch and a little bit of a muffler mod on it. And I think that's gonna, get us moving. But I'm gonna call this a video, guys. Take my earplugs out. I'm gonna call this a video, guys. You witnessed it with me. Every time that spark plug's hit, camera's been running. So I might edit out some of my trials because I've pulled on it quite a bit to get it running. I'll show you guys a little bit and edit out some probably. But there we go. There's a proof of concept so far. So I think we're ready to move on. May have too much carburetor on it. Of course, the muffler may help out too. It's still got the screen in it. Never been messed with. So guys, appreciate her. If I earned her, give her the old hitchhiker. If not, give her the old Julius Caesar. Consider subscribing if you want to see more of this. There's playlists of this up to this point. Thanks everybody for being here. I appreciate it. Get down there in the comments. Love talking to you guys.